Hello, and welcome to this edition of the Angels and Destiny Show. Why is this show called this? You may ask, so I'll tell you. The accepted meaning of angel is messenger, and the accepted meaning of destiny is to make firm establish. So my guests now bring you messages to establish what you need to know in the present. And of course, I just love working with angels and the calmness they bring. Now, in a moment, I will introduce you to my wonderful guest, Kemina Fulwood. But before that, I'd like to say thank you so much for watching the show live at a later date, as it means a lot to both of us to connect with like-minded people. Now, if you've never met me before, then my name is Ray, and I'm the founder of Radiant Angel Energy. And I'm a spiritual guide and healer passionate about helping you reconnect with your divine presence and step into your purpose. Now, through angelic Reiki, angel oracle cards, guided meditations, and exploring past and future lives, I support you in healing your past and creating a soul aligned future. Now, my journey has taught me that with the right tools and guidance, we can all connect with our higher selves, embrace transformation, and live a life full of abundance and fulfillment. Now, each episode of this show covers various themes of your journey, a mini guided meditation, or angel oracle card reading, with the wisdom of my wonderful guests, like today's guest, Kemina Fulwood, about the energetic dynamics of grief, why traditional approaches often fall short, and how we can tune into guidance from spirit to reclaim our power and purpose. Now, Kamina is a transformation leader, energetic recalibration specialist, and founder of SoulFlow. Now, with over a decade of experience, she guides people through deep loss, helping them move beyond survival to fully loving life again. Now, Kamina blends ancient wisdom and modern energetic techniques to deliver powerful, lasting transformation. So expect some soulful insights and practical tools to help you navigate loss and rediscover your power and purpose. So without further delay, hello, Kamina, and welcome to today's, a warm welcome to today's Angels and Destiny show. How are you?
Great, thank you.
Excellent. And as you can hear, Kamina is coming all the way from Australia. So
So my accent that obvious.
yeah. So before we get into this fascinating conversation, I want to remind you that not only can you share this video, but you can also ask questions, comments, and thoughts, as both Kamina and I want to be part of this conversation. So please don't be shy. So, Kamina, why don't you tell us more about your journey and about Beyond the Vow, how connection and death guides our healing?
Well, my journey has been full of everything. I've had the great ups and huge downs and everything in between. Um, and so part of that journey, I have, um, experienced extremely traumatic events. But I guess what we're talking about today is death. So, um, you know, my first proper experience of death was my father, who took his own life when I was around 30 years old. And that really shook me up, as you can imagine. um, and, because about a month before that, he tried to kill my mum. So it was a really, full on experience. And I broke up my engagement with my partner about a month after that, because I was just like, I looked at my life, and, it does that thing where it makes you reevaluate your life, and you're like, really, is this the path I want to be going on? And I knew had to go on a spiritual journey. And I knew that my partner couldn't go there with me. So I had to end it. And then, so that's where that took me. It led me down my path. And I think that's the beautiful thing about, especially death of somebody close to you, is that it has this ability to, really get you on your path or take you off your path. And it's your choice which of those routes you want to take. And so it's like that old saying that is, if it doesn't what doesn't kill you kills you makes you stronger. But I personally think it's what doesn't, kills you either fucks you up or makes you stronger. And it's, which one you're going to choose. And the one to make you stronger is not necessarily the easy road, but in the long run it is. And that's the road I chose to take. And fuck, I'm glad I did.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I think a lot of people, especially if you are dealing with grief, you forget that you have that choice. With anything that happens in your life, when that rug just gets pulled out from under your feet, you have the choice what you do, how you experience it, and what you do next. It's not easy, uh, but
And that's part of the journey I've taken to help people, is that, it's like, okay, if I choose this road to make, because personally I just went, no, I'm not going to be a bitter, twisted, angry person. That is just a big fat no for me. And so I was like, okay, how do I make sure that that's not part of how I live my life, the choices I make, how I interact with people. And so, finding the right path is hard, and that's what I've, spent my life. Like, that was only just one experience that I've had. I had so many, and all of them have guided me to finding what works and what doesn't. Because there's so many things out there, and it's like, well, do I do this? Do I do this? Do I do this? And it's just like, what's the most beneficial? Like, yeah, that works, but this one works better, so let me try that one. And I've done all the trial and error and working things out, and looking at all the ancient Egyptian stuff and shamanic and Tao and all of that stuff, and brought it all together. And that's kind of what I take people through. But I think one of the most powerful things you can do, especially in passing, if somebody close to you has passed, is you just feel so disconnected from them, like people can. And I remember once my dog had passed, and I, like when you come home and the dog's so excited to see you and they jump up and down and you're like, oh wow, this is so cool. And I was like, he'd been gone about 2 weeks, and I was driving home from work, and I just was in the car, and I just said out loud, to my dog, hey, can you be home when I get home? Because I was like, I just really want you to be home. And I didn't know what I was asking for. I just said it. And anyway, so I got home, and I had this big, long driveway. And it kind of came to a fork, um, and then at that fork, my house was just sort of on the left. And there, at the bottom of that fork, were two dogs that lived at the top of the hill, were waiting for me. And I'd never met these dogs before. And they were sitting there on either side of the road waiting for me. And they followed my car all the way to park my car and waited till I opened the door, and then they jumped all over me. And I was like, oh my God. Like, there was no doubt that my dog did that. And I was like, wow, that really, I got proof. Because I'm like, you need proof. Like, I'm always like, something, I ask for something, and I'm like, can you give me proof of that? And then I get proof of it. And I'm like, sometimes I'm like, yeah, I think that's a sign, but I'm not quite sure. Can you give me a couple more proofs just to make sure?
I love that we kind of like, yeah, you've given that proof, but yeah, just prove it, and just a little bit more. I'm like that yourself. I've kind of like got a very questioning mind. It's like, right, show me. I need the proof of this before I'm actually going to go and accept it.
Well, and that's why most people don't trust their intuition, because they don't ask for proof. It's like, how do you know it's right if you don't actually have proof of it? So I
Yeah.
actually think it's an essential step. And
Yeah.
and if you're not entirely sure, you're still like sitting on the fence, ask for more.
Yeah. Because they always want to give you more. They want to interact with you. They want to be part of your life.
Yeah. And then, you're really grateful, um, even more grateful. And you start having this kind of relationship with them. And then, it can go all kinds of weird and wonderful places. But I think that interaction is so important because I've had such weird and wonderful things happen that in the unseen world that makes my everyday world 10 billion times more interesting. Like life would be boring without it, I reckon.
Yeah, it totally would. So, can you give us a couple more examples?
Um, well, I guess probably the most important one is my relationship with my mum, who has also passed. And, I have these relationships with all the people that have passed. And, so I don't miss them the way other people do. And I think it's really important because otherwise you've just got this big gaping hole that nothing can really fill in your heart. And it's like, and you constantly think about, like, I have clients who are like 20, 30 years down the track still missing like a brother or a whatever, right? I'm just like, well, and they say to me, he's missing out on all of these things. And I said, well, no, he's not, because he's still there. He's actually still there experiencing them with you. You just don't know it. And also, he chose to go at that time on some level. He chose to go. So when they kind of hear that sort of stuff, they're like, right. And these are the things that, because we don't talk about death, it's such a taboo topic. And so these kind of really obvious things, like once you hear it, you're like, oh yeah, of course. And but because we don't talk about it, it's people don't think about it. And so I think that's really important. So with my mum, she's she's funny. Um, she guides. She's so like backing me up in my corner, helping me out so much, and all of my guides. And I get different beings and source. Like even occasionally source says it to me. Your mum's doing so much for you. Like I hear it all the time. I'm just like, wow, go mum.
Yeah, I have a feeling when my mum eventually passes, that's exactly what she's going to be doing.
It's awesome. I love it. And because it's it'll come just like I'll be chatting with Source or whatever, and they'll be like, "Oh, your mum's really doing a lot for you," and so it's things I wouldn't think. So, like, I just that wouldn't pop into my head. So I know, like, and that's what I love about when you have these conversations with whoever you're talking to, and something comes out that just wouldn't be something that you would normally think, and you just like it gives you again that confirmation. Oh, I'm right. I really am having this conversation with whoever.
Yeah, I love it. It's amazing the conversations you can have. And yeah, I'm exactly the same. I'll be talking to clients or something, and stuff will come out, and it's like, what? That's not in my brain capacity, or that's not something I've ever dealt with before. Um, so yeah, it's amazing when you trust what comes through.
Absolutely. I think I also find there are ways to strengthen your intuition too. Like I have, there's us, using chi and strengthening your chi in a very particular way actually strengthens your intuition. And because it's the fire down here has to feed up here. So if your fire down here in your belly is weak, then it is not that you're getting sprinkles up here, are you? So it's not going to be very strong. So these are things I also teach people in my program that I take.
Okay. Yeah.
But
I suppose a lot of
like,
people.
sorry.
Yeah, no. I suppose it's because a lot of people kind of like tend to think that, it all has to come from outside into you, but really it's your inner that needs to be worked on.
Exactly. I don't hear many people talking about this stuff, which is such a strange thing that it's so obvious, you know? It's like, of course I have to have a strong inner life, inner strength, inner fire in order to fire up the intuition, the sparks of the intuition. Otherwise it's like a you're like wondering why you're getting like just little snippets or not much because you don't have the energy to keep it active.
Yeah. So apart from activating your chi, what other things can we do?
Um, well, I think it's just practice. Um, it's I didn't have much of a strong intuition, and I can like go back and look at akashic records and find the origins of people's traumas, and I can do all kinds of really cool things, but it's like it's been a lot of work, and you got to be dedicated to it, and it's really rewarding if you do. Like it just changes your whole life. Not only can I like not have to feel like I miss my mum, I can talk to her. Like let's be honest, it's still not the same. Like
No.
it's still not the same as her physically being here. So there is always that, always is going to be there. So it's not like I can just go and give my mum a hug, or if something goes down, it's the conversations are still different to when she was here as well. But it's not that raw, oh my God, I miss you. So that, but just guiding you through life. Like I don't know what I'd do without my intuition. I'm like I know what my life was like without it, and now I've got it. It's like it's so much easier.
Yeah. So that is quite a most fascinating thing. The fact that you didn't have that intuition. So was it the death of your father that sparked that in around that? Okay, let me trust my intuition, or had you vague things beforehand?
No. When I say I didn't, I had some. Like I guess my first experience was when I was a little kid. I was in the bathtub and I saw this spider sitting on the wall, on the ceiling. And I just had this thought, I reckon I can make that spider fall with my mind. And as soon as I thought that, the spider fell. And it did fall into the bath and drown. That wasn't the goal.
That's when you realize, okay, I need to be careful with what I set my intentions
Yeah,
for.
but it also did teach me that. But the main thing that taught me is I went, how did I do that? And that is actually what set me on my journey. Was like I always wanted to find out how I made that spider fall, and every time I was going down the path of discovering more, I would remember that spider. So it was kind of this little reminder, like, hey, that spider's been with me my whole life. Um, so I'm really grateful to that spider for sacrificing its life for me. But like I did have things, like I was had premonitions, like I knew once my dad was going to have a heart attack, and he did, things like that. And So I've always had little bits, but it was compared to what it is now. It's, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think when people look back, they go, "Oh yeah, I've never, I've never had intuition. I've never, spiritual side that's never been there." But when people actually start looking back and they look at those tiny little instances, oh, I knew that person was going to phone, or I knew I shouldn't have gone there, you know. And then they go, "Oh yes, so maybe I did have some intuition, but I didn't realize that it was intuition."
Mm, mm. Yeah. And that's it. I think it's really important to that reflection bit, it's I think one of the strangest things I've had was I was living at a house and my housemate said to me, "You've got to go to the Mind Body Spirit Festival." And I was like, "Okay, all right, I'll go." And the next day she said to me, "Did you go?" And I went, "No, I didn't." And she said, "Well, you've got to go." And I went, okay, I'll go. Anyway, so I went to the Mind Body Spirit Festival and I saw this, it's, with all the crystals and tarot readers and all the things. And I saw this one stand there and it was a kinesiology stand. And I had this thought, oh, I've always wanted to learn kinesiology. And then I just went, wait a second, I don't even know if I've ever heard of it. And I was like, whoa, that was weird. So that bizarre moment made me go, okay, I've really got to try this now. And then next thing I know, I was like, wow, that's really cool. And it was a kinesiology school. So I signed myself up and I was going to learn it. And so, that was my guides giving me such a bizarre little moment that that I paid attention. I just went, that's so weird. I have to.
Yeah, I love it. And again, it's when we're being given signals and signs all the time, but we don't take the time to actually go, oh, okay, maybe I ought to listen to this.
Yeah. So, that was a pivotal moment in my life. So they made sure I didn't fucking miss it.
I love I love it. And of course, I'm guessing once you did the kinesiology, that led on to all the other things you
It,
ended up
that
doing.
was the beginning. Yeah. It was a good starting place. But yes, I without that, I wouldn't be where I am now.
No. So how did the journey, so where did it go from kinesiology? How did it progress?
Well, I was doing kinesiology and I never actually planned on doing it as a job. Um, I was I was working in advertising of all things, and I was running a digital agency, and my boss was a workaholic, and he would work at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock at night, was sending me messages all the time, and I'm like, you've got to stop sending me messages all fucking day long. I can't do this. And this one night I said to him, if you send me another message, I'm going to quit. And he sent me another message and I quit. And I was like, oh no, what am I going to do now? So I was like, oh, well, I had almost finished my kinesiology course. I went, I guess I'll do that. And I'm doing that, and I was working with clients, and I was doing some good work. But what I realized was that I was peeling. That what it does, it just peels off one layer at a time. And I was like, I think I've got millions of layers. I don't think I have enough time to peel off all the layers. So I'm like, okay, there's got to be a more powerful and effective way of doing this. And just by asking that question, it opened me up and all my gifts came to me. I looked at lots of different modalities and I went, I reckon out of each of the ones I've looked at, maybe about 5% is actually really useful. Um, so, like, nothing out there was what I was looking for. So I was like, okay, I'm going to I've got to create this because no one's doing what I need. So I, then, got lots of downloads from Source, and ended up creating Body Flow Energetics, and that was taught in 3 different countries by people. But I still felt like something was missing. And I was like, oh, it's got to be something more. And then I came across an ancient Egyptian way of doing things. And it was surprisingly very close to what I was doing. And I was, to be honest, pretty chuffed. Like, little old me created this thing. And it's really similar to what these incredible beings from, who know way much more than us. And I was like, wow. So I started doing that, but I still felt like there was something missing. And I was like, there's still something, it's something still missing. And then life happened, and my partner tried to kill me, strangle me. And I was working with him with some spiritual leaders, and they scapegoated me and followed the money. And it was that more than anything that shook me up. I was just horrified that these people who are supposed to be authentic and acting with integrity weren't. And so my whole world of how everything I saw just was, rocked to my core. And so I was doing all the things that I knew in how to help myself through this moment of time, and it wasn't working. And so I had to dig really deep to pull myself out of that, because I'm like, I can't live like this. I feel shit. And so I found the things that I was missing, and then I created a whole new program called SoulFlow, because that's what's needed. I've been on the journey, and I know firsthand what pulls you out and what doesn't. So that's where it all came from.
Oh, wow. And I'm guessing also by the fact that you've actually done this work, because obviously your dad tried to kill your mum and then your partner tried to kill you, you've actually now cleared that lineage, well, whatever you want to call it, that reoccurring pattern for future generations because you've done the work on it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love it. I love it when we realize and we start doing the work now, how much we can clear the ancestral stuff, so it doesn't affect, the future, our future generations are, on our lineage. And I think it's absolutely amazing, when that happens. So what sort of things do you do with, in self-flow?
Everything. Because I, there's a lot of stuff out there, and a lot of it's crap, if I'm really honest. Because what I find is people don't think deeply enough. They regurgitate what other people say and don't actually try and understand it on all levels. And if they did that, they would realize that what a lot of people are talking about doesn't actually make sense. So I was like, okay, well, what is the journey that people need to take? What's important? We need to look at 3 things. We need to look at ancestral trauma. We need to look at our stories and locate the origin of the trauma. So it's like we have a stress happen here, and we don't resolve it properly. Then we have another one happens till we've got this giant mountain. And most people are going out with a little pickaxe and wondering why they're not getting very far very fast. So what if you take the origin of the trauma? So it's like a house of cards. You pull that out, the whole house collapses. So you've got to locate the origin of the trauma and adjust the timeline according to what the soul wants of that person. So, and then you've got the ancestral trauma, and then you've got interference. So this is us, and then we have all this interference sitting around us that's stopping us from really accessing these stories and ancestral trauma. So you've got to remove all of that out of the way. So they're the three key areas that are essential to look at. And if you don't look at all of them, you're missing stuff. So then it's like, okay, well, I know that to be true. That's essential. But then, people knowing their purpose is also essential, because the healthiest, happiest people in the world are the ones who live their purpose. And that's, if you're sitting there just looking at all the trauma and stress, you're just going to focus on that and create more of that. It's the purpose that actually moves you forward. So we need to know the purpose. And so then, I'm like, okay, what are the steps? So there's 7 steps to take someone from stress and trauma and things aren't working to totally recalibrate their energetic system. You can't just do little bits here and there. You need an entire total recalibration. That, and then moving through these 7 steps, looking at every aspect of life. Like, you really need to master energy. You need to be an energy master and be able to, expand and contract your aura. You need to be able to align your chakras. You need to be able to feel energy to be able to really navigate life properly. You need to look at intuition. You need to look at relationship alchemy. You need to look at the elements and working with all of the elements like fire, earth, air, and water, and abundance, and all of these 3 things to get you to a place where you fucking love your life. And so it's a 7-step journey.
Wow.
And so, yes.
Yeah, no, I'm going to say, how long does this journey normally take, or is it down to the individual?
Well, we'd all love it to be overnight. But the truth of the matter is, if we all totally recalibrated our energy overnight, we wouldn't be able to handle it. So it actually has to take time. So me being all about, I want it as quick as possible. I want it. What's the quickest? and what's the easiest? I'm all about bite-sized changes. If things take longer than 5 or 10 minutes to do something, I'm just not going to do it. So that's just how I roll, and I'm pretty sure most people roll like that too. And so I'm like, okay, let's get just the essential bits. Get rid of all of the crap. So it's a 6-month journey, and it's about 3 hours a week. I reckon that's pretty good.
Yeah, no, that's not, sort of like hours and hours and hours of doing stuff each week. So do you work in person? How do you normally work?
Well, I work online, so with the program, it's a group journey or a one-on-one immersion with me, which also includes the group journey stuff as well. So you can choose your own adventure.
Cool. We like it when we can make those choices of doing what we want to do in our own way of doing it, rather than saying you have to do it this way or you have to do it that way, because that does turn people off. If you're being told, because you have all that when you're at school and everything, and that kind of like, yeah, I ain't listening to that.
No, I think it's, yeah, that old story. Very few people. You can't be forced into doing something. It's got to be on your own terms. But everybody's different as well. So if you're creating a program that is one size fits all, it's not actually going to work for everybody. Let's have a look at the education system for a start. It doesn't work for everybody. So, so you need to be able to adapt to different people.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as you know, I do guided meditations and I read angel oracle cards. And each week I like to ask my guests whether they would like me to do a mini guided meditation or put an angel oracle card for them, or whether they might have something they want to do, or maybe a mixture of both. So, Kamina, what would you like?
um,
Put you on the
let's go with
spotlight.
an angel card. Let's go with an angel card.
Oh, funny enough, I got the cards right here waiting. Yeah, there. Whoever knew I didn't have cards waiting before me. So let's see, let's just give the cards a nice quick cleanse and a bless. So as people may or may not be aware, when I work with the cards, I use the cards for what you need to know for your highest good at this moment in time. So even though I work with past life stuff, that's so you can heal and learn from the past so it doesn't affect you in the present. And when I work with take people into the future, it's so you can see, understand your future and the steps to take to get there so that it doesn't affect you in the present. Because I think being present is so, so important. And we miss a lot when we spend too far in the past or too far in the future. So what does Kamina and everyone who's watching this need to know for their highest good at this moment in time? It's clean. Everyone is watching this internet for their highest good this moment in time. Of course, quite often it's stuff we already know anyway, and we're just given that little nudge and reminder going, hey, you're not doing it yet. I love this. And this ties in with what you said about how you like to work. Traveling lightly, simplify your life.
That is what I'm all about.
Exactly. So, it's confirmation for you, Kamina, that obviously, with the work you're doing, the more you simplify it and you travel lighter, the more you move forward with it and expand and connect with more people. And for those of you who are watching, it is saying start simplifying your life. You don't need to go into it heavily and deeply. And, there are ways to simplify your life, even if it's just, I don't know, let's see, how can you simplify your life?
Well,
Maybe,
I've got
yeah, good.
all right. If you're trying to process something, people often play things over and over and over in their mind, or they push it away and go, I don't want to think about it. All you've got to do is ask two questions. What do I need to know, and what do I need to learn about this? You don't need to understand where the person is coming from, because if someone's done something, they're either full of self-doubt or confusion, and it's never going to make sense. So all you need to know is, what do I need to know and what do I need to learn?
Beautiful. Yep. An easy way of simplifying your life. See, someone who's already simplified it can tell you how to simplify it. So, Kamina, do you have any last words of wisdom, insights, or thoughts to leave our viewers?
Sure, your energy is either working for you and against you. So come join me on SoulFlow and I'll make sure it works for you.
Beautiful. So I hope everyone you've enjoyed this conversation and found it insightful, because I know I definitely have. So if people want to connect with you, Kamina, how do they do that? And do you have anything coming up or any free gifts or offers to share?
So you can find me at my website, which is bodyflowenergetics.org, or on Facebook, Kemina.Fulwood, Kemina. There it is right there. And um, And yes, so if you go to my website, I have all sorts of free goodies there that you can jump on, free transformation masterclasses, or you can join me for a free activation. So check it all out, and I hope to see you soon.
Cool. And I will put the links in the comments so that people can actually just click on them and go straight to there without having to search them. So I want to thank you, Kamina, so much for sharing your wisdom with us. It's been an absolute pleasure. And of course, for everyone watching, if you are ready to connect more deeply with your soul's purpose, and if you're feeling the nudge to heal, grow, and align with the life you were born to live, then I'd love to support you. You can now join the waitlist for my Soul Path Discovery program, which is a transformative journey for those ready to clear old patterns, connect with their soul's wisdom, and step forward with clarity and confidence. And you can book a free Soul Path Discovery call by messaging me direct to explore your path and see if it's the right fit when space becomes available. And of course, I also have a couple of incredible free gifts for you designed to help you connect more deeply with your guides and explore your future and the angels. So check out the link in the comments after the show to grab yours. And again, thank you so much for watching. And I'd like to invite you to share this video, as I'm sure there are more people who feel lost and want to get clear on their destiny just like you. And of course, if you're watching this on YouTube, then please feel free to subscribe. It is free. And hit that bell button to be notified when this show goes live or I post new guided meditations. And remember, every time you like, share, comment, subscribe to anything I offer, anything Kemina or any of my guests offer, then you're helping us get that message out. You're part of that beautiful network, that spider's web of bringing people together and helping raise people, their vibrations, their energy, so that they can take charge of their destiny just like you. And I look forward to you all joining me, same time, same place next week. Take care. Bye.